Okay, mic check. Mic check 1, 2. How is everybody this evening? And hopefully we are live. Welcome everyone back to a Friday night live stream here at Christ Center Ironworks. Hopefully everyone's had a great 2 weeks. And before we get right into this, this is a special giveaway live stream where we will be having a ton of door prizes to give away for anybody who's in this stream, as well as we're going to take and be drawing a name for this guillotine tool that we announced in our previous stream. So there's no chance of getting in on this. That has already been closed as of midnight Thursday evening to get your name entered for this. But be sure to check out our next live stream as we will be doing some more giveaways and things like that if you missed out. And also you might want to stick around for this live stream as well because we will be making an Acanthus leaf. And this is a Baroque style Acanthus leaf that I'm calling it. Let's go over to the anvil cam just real quick here, or what we're going to affectionately call the vice cam because we're going to be doing all of our work over at the vice. You can find this template. We've provided this in the all template bundle over at our website, blacksmithpdfs.com, if you want to go check that out, as well as a ton of other useful templates as well. But that's what I'm going to be working from tonight. And I'll be trying out a new hammer that I made, a little leafing hammer here that I made just recently, and some stakes, some leafing stakes. We've got some videos on this. I haven't made a video on this yet, but I hope to because I got about 3 other sizes of these to make. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and check in with Jessica and see how she's doing over there this evening. How you doing, Jess?
I'm doing good this evening, and I just want to say hi and welcome to everybody. I see you commenting over there. Corey Shire, we're doing well. Stage Forge John, welcome. And especially those of you who are new to our stream, we are glad to have you.
Also like to recognize Mr. Coffee, John Coffee. Thank you, sir, for another lovely super chat. If you guys didn't notice on that front stream, we're going to try to take and honor those who take and support these streams on a regular basis by making sure we put them in kind of a bit of a pre-roll thing. So if you want to have your name added to the list, a great way of you doing that is just sending a little super chat donation or something like that, and that gets your name added to that list, because we take all this stream money and we soak it back into producing better and better quality content here on the channel and being able to do stuff like this. But another way you can support, if you're short on funds, is share this stream around. That is a huge thing for any creator on YouTube, is for you guys to be sharing our content around and get as many people to watch it as possible, because YouTube doesn't do a good enough job of actually making people see our content. So big thank you, big shout out to everyone who donated last stream. We really do appreciate you all. And I also have a special mention from last stream and from all of our streams just about that I'll get to here after this first stage, so we can get right into doing the forging here of this leaf. So Jessica, any comments or anything just yet?
Yes, I have a couple of comments I'd like to read off here. Let's see, WTF Maker Studio, he's just saying he enjoyed my enamel videos and would like to see a few more of those. And yes, I'd definitely be up to doing a few of those occasionally. Not exactly blacksmithing centric, but yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing them, I'll post, because I've been working on something enameling like every week, so been enjoying that. Let me see what else we have here. Robert Poglich says, nice hammer. And Fox Run Forge. No, that's not my hammer. That is Roy's hammer he made specifically for the leafing. And also, Mr. Couch Forge Company, we would like to thank you for the $50 super chat.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Couch Forge Company. We appreciate you. You should put your first name in the chat, so this way we can do that, and we don't have to, unless you just want to be called Mr. Couch Forge Company. Thank you, sir, very much for the $50 super chat as well. God bless you, sir. Thank you very much. You and Mr. John Coffee are awesome gentlemen. So, all right, this piece is all heated up. We're going to work from the stem portion of the leaf and go out to the front. There's going to be a lot of rapid succession type heats, so we're going to be going back and forth, and I'm going to try to answer as many comments or questions as I can as we go along in between heats. And then here in about, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes or so, we'll probably give away the guillotine tool. We'll do that. And then we have 10 other items that we'll be giving away during this stream. And you'll definitely want to stick around for those because I think they're going to be interesting. I think somebody will like them. Anyway, so let's go over to the anvil cam there, Jess. Or Vice Cam 5, or whatever you want to call it. All right. So the first step in this process is we're going to find the center of this ridge. And I'm going to find where it just turns dark, and I'm going to hit to each side of that dark line. You'll see it starting to progress, hopefully up the bar. And the ideal is we want to keep this hump going as straight as we can. So if you get it off a little bit, just hammer a little more on one side versus the other to bring it back in line. We can always shift this vein a little later if it doesn't do what we need it to do. But we're creating that ridge. This hammer is coming down to just the side of this stake. We're not hammering on top. We're not trying to pinch or forge the material. We are trying to form the material around the stake. So I'm coming to just to the offside and hitting on this material to try to repousse or to push down the background while leaving the center line up. So that's how we're going to gather that material, and we will also do that for these sides as well. Now, this here is a really small, this here is a really broad, if you can see how that is. We will trade this out for a much smaller veining fuller here after we get this initial bit started. You want to start broad, that way if you're a little crooked, you can adjust with the smaller veining fuller. You can pull that center vein whichever way you want to do. All right, back to the main cam.
All right, our first question comes from the Wanderer. He asked if we set up in Renaissance fairs.
We have never been to a Renaissance fair. Well, we've been to Renaissance fairs as purely spectators, but we never got into that. We did a lot of street fairs, art fairs, things of that nature, and then about the time we had even considered maybe even doing a Renaissance fair, we had one baby on the hip and one baby on the way, and it got to be too much to do fairs and things like that. So we stopped doing fairs and just predominantly sold from home from there.
All right, our next question comes from WTF Maker Studio. He says, is this what's called raising?
No, Adam, this is not actually called raising. Technically, the terminology is difficult. The terminology is difficult because, one, there is a language barrier across many different aspects, whether you're speaking from the Italian sense, the French sense, British or English. There's a lot of different places that repose has taken place in various different forms. But the classical definition of raising something is pushing something forward and up. So you're gathering material up. So you take a disc and you might work around the disc and you're pushing that material to the edge of that piece. As where this, you're kind of pulling the material away. So they call it repousse or repousse, as what we call it here in America. And then the other portion of that is chasing. And chasing is when you come along and you tighten up or you finalize things. Usually it's done in a bed of pitch where you do the repousse or you create a divot, a depression of some sort, and then when you flip it over, your chasing is cleaning up that divot and shaping that piece of metal that you've, repoussed. So hopefully that is somewhat informative, but yeah, it's not the same thing as raising. Now technically, these could be considered the stakes, the leafing stakes I'm working with, could be considered raising stakes depending on the operation you're trying to work on. All right, let's go over to the anvil cam. And just hit it on the anvil there ever so lightly, because I wanted to straighten out some of the bow that it was getting. And we're not going to be able to get up into that lighter area up there. So we're going to just stay back here so we can push this right on. If you keep your hammering to even on both sides of this line, it will help you make that it'll help this from going goofy on you. So hopefully you guys can see that. And these are not hard blows. These are just nice, light blows. We're just wanting them to be good setting blows. And more of the importance is that it comes out straight, or that your blows are overlapping and they're accurate against that stake. But we're almost done with that stake there to be able to finish out this and go on to the side bit. So I'm going to switch up stakes here in just a second. Let me put this back in the forge. And I'll go ahead and change up stakes, and then we can come back to the main cam. Give me a second, Jess. And let me have another question.
All right. Welcome, Dana Maggiore. Glad to have you. And also Uncle Buck's Forge. And also Neil Zagrin. Glad to have you also. He says it's getting to be bedtime where he's at, but we're glad he joined us for a few minutes anyhow. And Doe Creek Forge commented, got my new anvil, Pettinghaus, 275 pounds. I'm so happy.
Awesome, awesome, great. So you can come back to the main cam, Jess. We're good to go. By the way, I won't be talking while Jessica's talking, because you'll get this double-ended noise thing going on, because she has to switch on and off our mics as well. If you really appreciate Jessica like I do, go ahead and give her a big thumbs up or hand claps down in the comments section down below to just let her know how great of a job she's doing, because it's really tough to manage all that stuff from that end over on the computer type thing. One, there's a lag from all the comments. There's a lag of my voice transpiring on the screen. And then, you know, not only does she have to do that, but she has to do all the video fading transitions from each camera and that sort of thing, all manually, as well as the microphone. So make sure you give her a big shout out and a thank you. And hopefully the microphones are coming in good and everything's running perfectly smooth. And Dana, by the way, I know, thank you guys so much for showing up. Thank you to all of our Super Chat donors. And one thing we like to do here on the channel, and we've tried to start this across the web, it got started here first, was hand claps. Clappy hands emojis for everyone who Super Chat. So make sure you do that and show everybody your love that way. What's the next one, Jess?
Mike G said that he is going to be doing a blacksmithing demo at a historical event, but he's not sure what he wants to work on.
Huh, Mike G. Well, there's all sorts of things that you could do that would be historical. You can basically go to your pokers, you go to nails, you can do hooks of all sorts. Chain, if you're comfortable with welding, doing forge welding demonstrations. Chain welding is always magical to people if you're comfortable with your forge welding. And sometimes that's a good thing or a bad thing. If you're on a super bright day and you have no shade cover whatsoever, I would abort that ideal. Don't try to do any sort of forge welding, especially if you don't have a barricade to keep crowds kind of away from your area, because that scale and stuff can travel pretty darn far. So, you know, just be careful on that. Use a little wisdom, but those would be my suggestions if that's what you were saying, or if you're just doing it as a comment. I didn't know if that was a question or a comment. Was it just? It was kind of both. Okay, but good for you though. We're hot. Let's go back over to the vise, Jessica. Alrighty, so now we're gonna work on getting this straightened up and getting this curvature where we need it. Wait a minute. This is probably the most difficult part, getting this in. This in right here. It really doesn't like to balance on that stake, so you just have to aim it. You really have to aim this just right. And I would have went ahead and moved camera angles. Well, I would have already moved to the other side, but since we're locked off with one camera angle, we're not going to do that. Now you're going to start seeing this getting a lot sharper as we go along here. We're going to call that it for right now. It's going to start looking crisper and crisper as we go along. Get another heat on this.
All right, we have a comment from Mike Needs. He says, loving the channel, started working on welding up a coal forge today. Wish me luck, LOL. Good luck. You know, that's a great start for getting your own forge setup going, is having a heat source. Also, WTF Maker Studio says Jess makes the streams the best, and a $5 super chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adam. We really appreciate it. Thank you for the $5 super chat, brother. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Also from Yamez here, we have a $5 super chat, and he says, well, happy Friday. Did you know that Friday is called Friday because in olden times, that was the only day people were allowed to fry things?
Ha! That's an interesting bit of history there, Yamez. I don't know how accurate that is, but you know, I'll take your word on it for anyhow. So I'm not a historian, so, but that's pretty cool. Thank you, Yamez, sir. Every little bit helps, and we greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much. God bless you, brother. Let's go back over to the anvil cam, Jess. Again, I'm focusing on this ridge. Again, the biggest portion here. This sets up the rest of the piece. You want to make sure this ridge gets formed as centrally located as possible. Now we're starting to get some real definition on that side. I may have to try to rotate and go ahead and go southpaw on this to get a much better grip here. And I might do that with the next heat, so I can better work this piece down to take and get that ridge formulated. But that's how that's progressing there. Hopefully you guys can see that well. It's working good. We can go back to the main cam and we can take some more questions there, my love.
All right, Josh Smith, welcome. And Hammer Time New York says, looks like Roy's really like Jess's hammer. Hope Roy's not hogging it. Actually, Roy is using a hammer that he made during the same week he made my hammer, so that's not my hammer. My hammer actually has a heart and scrolls on it, and he'll probably show you a little later in the stream.
Yep.
But this is a new hammer of his. And also we have a question from The Wanderer. It says, I live out in Arizona. How would you recommend setting up my forge so that I can survive the heat?
Well, good question. There's been a lot of suggestions given to me back when I was in my shop in Ohio, when I lived a lot further south than I do now. I moved about 6.5 hours north, so I can sympathize for when I was in Ohio, although Ohio had quite a bit of moderate climbs. One of the biggest things that I think that might help you, especially since you're out west, is look into a swamp cooler for your shop. Some people gave a suggestion of running water down the roof type deal, and that evaporation process, which is basically like a swamp cooler, would, you know, draw off the heat, and that's a completely valid way of doing it. So that's one suggestion. The other suggestion is a high roof line, if you can, with really open sides. That will save you a ton when it comes to the whole getting too hot in the summer months. You can always close it in with panels or walls or temporary walls, have big swinging doors or something. Think of picnic pavilion, but with doors that might have all your tools on them or something that could open up and give you a lot of free airspace. That way you can get by with fans or something like that. Also, it's important that if it's in the hottest portion and you're going through a super heat wave, you need to make sure that you take frequent breaks, and if at all possible, change your forging schedule from, maybe in the AM hours to either in the PM hours or early AM hours. And don't forge midday or at the hottest portions of the day if you can help it. Let's go over to the vise, Jess. I'll be there with you in a second. All right. We're going to use this side of the vise now to sharpen up this angle. There you go. That's the part I was missing. Flip it over. So now you can see that really sharpening out, hopefully. And that's where this thing's really going to get its structure from, is doing that. Now I'll probably take this over the anvil, and you can go to the main cam, hun. And we're going to just go ahead and straighten this ever so slightly. Be careful not to flatten it too much. We're not trying to create a flat on the center ridge. We just want to take and get this, try to put it in check. If you're getting too much twisting and rolling, you want it to put that back in check to where it's still flat. Otherwise, you're going to be working with all sorts of goofy angles with your arms, and it just becomes annoyance.
All right, Painting the Roses Red, welcome. We're glad to have you. Good to see you too. And we have a question from Drayson's Forge. He says, Roy, could you do a folded leaf to get the same effect?
Drayson's Forge, great question. And Paint the Roses Red, hello, good to have you in the chat. You can't do a folded leaf to get the same effect because with a folded leaf, basically you're fold forming. So you're creating a section with the leaf, you're upsetting that ridge or that material is getting permanently locked in, and then you're folding out the actual leaf. What this is doing is this is actually stretching that material over the stake, and so you're pulling the material where you want it. And you can't do a folding leaf, to my knowledge, especially when you're starting to do the veins or the vein portions that come out. You're going to see that in a second when I transition to doing the side, the lobes of the acanthus leaf. That's where it would break down. Now, if you were just trying to get this central vein and nothing else, it would work really well just to go ahead and do a folded leaf type thing, but then it wouldn't be an acanthus leaf. So I hope that answers that question well. And we are ready to go to the vise. Again, with this, I'm repoussing the background down. We're just hitting to the just the off side of the stake. It's also important that you keep the material moving and you keep the material hot while you're doing this. Because if you start hitting on it now, if you see how that's torquing in the hands, that's going to give you wrist problems. So keep it hot, keep it moving when you're working with steel. You can get by a little bit when it comes to copper, but be careful when you're working with steel. Go to the main, get it straightened up a bit, good to go.
All right, the Pickled Hammer Forge says, I don't have any questions. I feel the need to comment like the cool kids. Yeah, definitely stay engaged in the comments tonight. That's gonna be especially important because when we do the door prizes, you will want to have the comments in there because we just kind of scroll randomly through the comments and pick people's names. So yes, definitely get some comments in there. Also, Hammer Time New York asked if I would imagine if you made a lot of these, a bead roller would come in handy.
Possibly a bead roller could come in handy. I know that there's certain power hammer tools you can get. It kind of all depends on what type of effect you're getting. Usually if you're doing some sort of fullered situation where you're fullering down through dies or maybe in a bead roller, you're only going to ever get a certain height, which is okay if you're doing a lot of production leaves type deal. You'll see that the definition leaf by leaf actually goes down because there's so many of them, because you know you're doing it more from the aspect of doing a production run of something. So you're trying to do 800 of these boogers. Well, you're not going to make sure that every last one of them's like got the most perfect straight whatevers. You're going to want to get those veins in as quick as you can, however you can, and let that be a part of the much grander scale. Because usually if you look at some of the old architectural ironwork, especially Baroque style ironwork, once you get up close, the work's actually not that detailed, depending on the scale. So say it's a great big old 50-foot driveway gate or something. Once you get up, like out at a distance, it looks really ornate. You get up closer and you start losing details because things are a lot, you know, more flowing and big and more mass production oriented and less detail oriented. The smaller you go though, the more detail oriented you get, and the bead roller probably wouldn't work for this situation. But yeah, for the much larger stuff, that might be a great option to do that. All right, let's go over to the vise real quick. All right, I need to straighten this up a little bit. So I'm hammering out at the edges here. I'm trying to get a little straightness back into this piece because we were kind of getting a bit of a weeble wobble there. Got that straightened back up. And this is about as far as we're going to go on this stake. And that's good enough for me. That's enough for doing our center vein for now. We'll come back through and address this. Take up any, we'll have chances to adjust any untrueness or squareness out of this piece in future heats, because now we need to go ahead and work on our center veins, our veins going out.
All right, we are about 35 minutes in. When you go to change out that steak, do you want to go ahead and do the like an intermission so we could go ahead and give away the guillotine tool?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do an intermission right now while we're at it here. I'll set that leaf off to the side so it doesn't burn up. And so we will go ahead and draw for this here guillotine tool. And then I will hopefully try to start doing a better job of doing some other giveaway things like we said we were going to do in this stream, right?
Yep.
Right. Oh, all right. So, got a little bucket over here. Going to come back. We are going to take and draw a name out of this Tupperware thing. Not quite Tupperware. Hashtag not a sponsor of this unbranded bowl. But we do have a bunch of names in there. There was quite a few entries. There was 400 and some odd.
Yeah, 427.
Yep, 427. Let me go set this off the side here. And so we're going to go ahead and draw now. I don't know how many people are in the stream, but it would be interesting to know how many people are in the stream. You can comment it down below.
55.
There's 55 people watching. Well, thank you all for being here. And so, for those who are here, hey, you guys got better odds of winning now, don't you? Yeah. You do. Make sure to share up the stream. That helps us. All right, so here we go. We got this guillotine tool here that we're going to be giving away. Right through the bucket. Not looking, not looking. Let's see who gets it. Let's see who gets it. I got one on my finger. Nope, two on my finger. I looked. Hold on, I got to go. Again, I can't look at it. Let's try to find one piece. Boom. Whoever this lucky person is. Everybody can start yelling, me, me, me. All right, so Matt Brumbaugh. Let's go to the Vice Cam, Jess.
All right.
So this way people know I'm honest. Matt Brumbaugh. You are the winner, sir. Thank you so much for entering. Thank you so much for participating in that. And we will get that guillotine tool shipped out to you shortly. Oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you. Also, at this point in time, I don't know if we're still at this cam here. Let's go back to the Vice Cam, please.
There we go.
Okay, so I don't know right now at this time if he is in here or not. And I'm always taking and messing up the name. Yeah, Ulf. I keep wanting to call him Luis, but I know it's wrong. I don't know why. Anyways, Ulf, if you all don't know Ulf Peterson, he is a really big supporter of people here on YouTube. He's a big supporter of our channel, Big Dog Forge's channel, and a lot of other people's channels. Yamez's Island Metal Forge, Ting Ting at County Line Forge, and a lot of other people. He's very generous with his donations and stuff to keep streams like this going. So I made him up a little present. We made this in the other live stream, and this was a keychain, basically like a keychain holder to where you can hang all your keys on there, or like a key holder that goes on the wall. So I made him up a decorative nail right there, and I'm going to take and send that out there to Ulf Peterson. Again, just to thank you from the bottom of our heart for supporting everybody here on YouTube. Again, you guys do make streams like this possible, and you don't know how much that support really does mean to Jessica and I and all the other creators around us. So thank you, Ulf. Everybody give Ulf a hand clap and thank him for being such a great supporter of live streams and things like that. So again, thank you, Ulf, and I hope you'll enjoy this, buddy. All right, back to main cam. And give me a couple questions here while we get some metal hot. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it, and let me know some comments.
All right. Mike Needs, he asked, what piece of advice would you give yourself when you first started? Like looking back.
The piece of advice that I would have given myself looking back when I first started would be basically more of an encouragement about not looking so much at the tooling I didn't have as a hindrance to my abilities at that time. When I first got started, I had a Harbor Freight anvil. Of course, everybody and their brother wants to pick on Harbor Freight anvils, but it's what I had. I was just happy to heat something up in a campfire or the fireplace in my home and while away on it with a hammer on something that was an anvil, and I didn't know really any better. But I would always look at other people's work that were so much mind-blowing better than mine, and I would attribute it to their tools or their equipment, or they had the right kind of tongs, or they had the right kind of hammers, they had the right power hammers. Well, they had forges, they had gas forges, they had this and that and what have you. And through all these years that I have been doing blacksmithing now, I have tried just about every power hammer under the sun, except for nozzles. I haven't worked much on those, but I have tried every power hammer, almost every press I've had a chance to try out. And I've done forging, and I've done speaking engagements, and I've done all sorts of demonstrations on all sorts of different tools and equipment, and done those sort of things. And what it comes right down to is it's not the tools that make the smith, it's the smith that makes the tools. And that is true. You can have everybody and their brother who's fresh out of college jump right on a power hammer and start knocking out heavily power hammer textured work, and poof, voila, they're instantly a master. That's not really how that works. It still takes them many, many years, and yet they can't weld up a chain link or do something else. So I would have told myself not to get too wrapped up in what other people have and what I was lacking, and would have focused more on my skills as a blacksmith. So if you are in that position, focus on your blacksmithing skills, your hand, anvil, and hammer, and your forge right there can create almost every single other tool in your shop, and the only thing that you're lacking is the knowledge to do so. So that's why we've got a channel here. We have over 1,300, we have about 1,300 videos. We're coming up very soon on the channel of educational content. There's thousands of videos out there of different things, so you can get that knowledge, you can make your own tools, and then you can be just like the other smiths that you may idolize now. And so that would be my encouragement to you if you are sitting in that position. And if Roy was a young man, that would be my encouragement back to him. Great question. All right, let's go over the vise, Jessica. Straighten this out just a bit. Okay. All righty. Now we're going to take and start putting in our side vanes. We're going to start out at the hardest ones to get in. One of the big things here is to just be careful of trying to get this to develop too quick. And I let that thing sit in the forge too long. I'm starting to get that really bad scale pop off there. I'm probably going to take a moment to clean that up. Yeah, I'm going to take a minute to clean that up. Don't let that be popping off and hitting you in the face and all that good stuff. Take a minute and brush that good if you've got that going on. We'll go back to the main cam. And hopefully I'll spend less time letting it sit there. All right, next question, Jess.
All right, April Pritch asks, what is your best advice for someone who has never taught blacksmithing but is going to? Next weekend, an event I'm going to be at, my teacher is going to have me teach.
Best piece of advice, when you get nerves about teaching, and I've done this in several classes myself, so this is the pot calling the kettle black. You kind of do nervous gibberish. So you'll talk about a whole bunch of things that are related to the thing that you're doing, and you'll forget that people have a brain and that they can kind of figure out, they can connect dots on their own, and that'll really wear you out. So I'll give you an example. I'm forging on this Acanthus leaf, and if you notice, I'm doing the hammer work, but I'm not necessarily saying all the steps because I've already told you, you're hammering to both the front and back. That's pertinent information. Now I'll be telling you, now in the case of just being freshly started at it, you have a tendency to say, okay, now this peen I'm working with is a 3/8 inch round peen, and I got a 30-degree radius on it, and this was given to me by my great-great-great-great-granddaddy, and it was forged out of a piece of 5160, and he hardened it in pig's blood and oil, and oh man, we just got demonetized. Shouldn't have said that. Anyways, and it's sitting on an old hickory handle from a tree that he planted when my grandma died, and you'll go on this big old saunter off of the actual pertinent information because it's kind of a bit of a nervous ramble. You'll get rambling on about something because you're nervous that maybe you don't know enough, or you got a fear that maybe somebody knows more than you that's at the class and you might say the wrong thing. Just step up with authority, step up with what you know, be open if somebody else sees something a little different, and then you know, just roll with it, and you'll be just all right. But yeah, that would be my piece of advice to you, is just kind of watch out for that nervous chatter that you may do. Keep it very pertinent to the processes you're trying to teach, and if somebody asks a question, let them know more about that particular piece or whatever you're working on. Let's go back over the vise, and then you can ask another question here in a bit.
Bart Ware asks, do you keep to a hard schedule as far as forging, doing business, upkeep, etc.?
Okay, great question. Do I keep a hard schedule? And the answer is no. And I have found that the harder of a schedule I try to keep, the more God has other plans for me during the day. I'll be like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to mow the lawn, and a tree limb will break. And now I got to saw up a tree limb or something. I find that to be mostly true in my life, so I don't try to keep too much of a hard schedule. When I am working, however, I do plan on work. I do plan on working. So that means I'm not busy wanting to have a visit from anybody. I don't plan on, you know, gallivanting or anything else. I plan on just getting work done. So there you go. We'll go back over to the main cam, Jess. We are working on the smallest, hardest pieces first, by the way. Oh.
All right, our next question comes from Doe Creek Forge. Ask for tips for forge welding in a gas forge. Does okay already with coal, but has been trying without very much success in the gas forge.
Well, I'm going to give you the same tired excuse that probably a lot of people have already given at some point in time, or maybe they haven't. It's atmosphere. Think about the atmosphere inside the gas forge. Your forge is either not getting hot enough, it's giving out too much oxygen, so therefore it's producing scale and burning the piece rather than actually getting it up to its welding temperatures. That's some of the things that can take place. That doesn't mean that's the only thing, and that's the end all be all of the subject. But that's 10-to-1 odds. My answer on that. Now, you can take, when I talk about atmosphere of the forge, if you take a piece and you put it in there, it takes a long time that I have found when forge welding in a gas forge to actually bring a piece up to welding heat. Because as where it might be kind of at a welding heat or getting slightly loose on the surface, the core of the material is not hot enough yet. So it kind of has to soak in there. So it's very important to have a good atmosphere inside the gas forge. Depending on what type of burner you're using, whether you're using a forced air or you're using a Venturi effect type burner, if you're doing a Venturi, you're going to have to be at least 20 psi to get a good forge weld, or to get up to forge welding heat in a rapid manner. And then if you're doing something like a forced air blower, you're still going to need to be running probably right around 8 to 12 psi on that to really force that in there and create the perfect atmosphere. But you want to tune your forge, so to speak, to where there's not a great big giant dragon's breath out the front, but it's coming out maybe 2 to 3 inches out the front window of the forge to bring it up to heat. Also, don't add any new material into it because that'll chill the forge, because it will absorb some of the heat of the forge when you do that. So again, just think of atmosphere when you're thinking of gas forges. All right, we can go back over the vise, and I can answer another question when you got it.
Ricardo Nye says, for a beginner blacksmith, what should I make for learning the most technique?
What should you make to learn the most technique for forging?
Just as a beginner blacksmith.
I would suggest hooks. I like hooks. I think they're a good utilitarian piece. You're able, with a hook, when you're making hooks and stuff, you can actually make it useful. So you feel like your time has actually been useful. for something while you're in the forge. That's a very rewarding feeling. So I would suggest hooks, in my case, either that or like a fire poker. And that's just because it incorporates a lot of fundamentals of forging in a relatively simple piece. That'd be my answer on that. And so hopefully you guys can see what I've got going on here. So now I got those cross bits going. And as you can see, these are starting to fold quite a bit. Let me grab Mr. Thing here. You can start seeing how they're kind of folding up. They're kind of tootsie rolling up a little bit. That's okay, that's what we're wanting, because when we come back and we give these individual lobes expression, it's gonna have a much more dramatic effect. So now we've got this, or the hardest portion up here done. Now we're gonna go on and we're gonna continue to do that same process for all the leaves back here. This vein will be more prominent on this because there's a lot more material here that's not getting sucked up. So you'll see a more prominent vein here, slightly less prominent here, and then definitely not as prominent once you get to your front ones.
So many great questions tonight. I know some of you guys are reminding me, like, hey, don't forget this person commented about a question. I'm making some notes here for myself so I can remind Roy when we get openings to answer a few of them. The next one comes from Tommy Wright. He says that he made a punch and chisel from an old jack handle. He didn't anneal it. Does he still need to temper and quench it?
From an old jackhammer or jack handle?
He called it a jack handle.
I'm thinking you meant jackhammer. If it's a jackhammer bit, it just kind of depends on what you're using. If you're just doing hot work with it, you know, you can get by with it. If you need to redress it, go ahead and just redress the chisel. If it rolls over a little bit, it's not a huge deal. Most likely, if it's a jackhammer bit, you have a lot of material there anyhow, so you can always do something along that route. If you are going to harden and temper it, I would say go ahead and harden it, probably in oil. I'm not sure of the steel that you're using, but oil is probably a safer bet. Go ahead and harden it in oil, and then maybe draw it back to like a purple or like a peacock blue, and let it be at that. If it's going to be doing something other than just cutting through hot steel, but if you want it to have a little more surface wear resistance. Again, it's not a real hard steel to begin with, it's a tough steel, so that'd be my answer to that. Jessica, one more question real quick.
Right, this next one is a $20 super chat from somebody celebrating their birthday, Timothy O'Clair. Happy birthday. He says, hey y'all, it's my birthday. Can't think of a better way to spend part of my day than to hang out with two of my favorite YouTubers.
Awesome, Timothy O'Clair. Thank you, brother. Thank you for the $20 super chat. And happy birthday to you. Everybody say happy birthday if you haven't already, and give him like some birthday cake emojis or something of that nature. Let's go over to the Vice, Jessica, and you can field me another question.
Doe Creek Forge says that when they forge copper, it's cracking. What's the problem here?
One, are you sure it's copper? I know that seems like a bit of a rhetorical question, but sometimes you can find some bronze or cold work brass that can look like copper. So that's my question on that. Is one, are you sure it's copper? Two, are you taking enough annealing heats? That would be my next question. So, are you annealing enough? One way you can tell if a piece of material is not annealed or that you're working on, especially with copper, it'll make a high-pitched tinny sound when it's getting really hard, and then it'll end up cracking on you.
All right, we are we're about 55 minutes into the stream. Roy, do we want to do any of the prizes? I know you're focused over there.
Yeah, let's go ahead and give away a few things. We'll pull this out so it's not getting burned up in the fire here. Let's go ahead and give away a few things. So, I'm going to go ahead and give 2 things away to 2 separate people. That way, because I've been doing a really poor job. I've been so focused, enjoying my work over here and enjoying your guys' comments that I have not thought about giving away anything. So poor show on Roy. Poor show on Roy. Let me get a little Coke over here to feed this fire with, and then we will go over to the anvil cam, Jess, and I'll show them what we're giving away. Are we there?
We are there.
Okay, and are you hitting your mute and unmute button?
I am now.
All right. Anyway, so here we are. We made up some fridge magnets, Jessica and I did. These got a little neodymium magnet on the back side, and these are enameled with our Christ Center Ironworks logo. One here, this was supposed to be yellow, but it kind of looks a little bit green to me. And this one is definitely orange, although it may look a little red on camera. But we're going to be taking and giving these away. Don't worry, I have a few more over there on the table that we'll give away here in just a few minutes. But we're going to go ahead and give away the yellow one right now. And the way this is going to work, Jessica is going to scroll up and down just at random on the comment section and pick one of you. Is what she's going to do. She's going to take and just pick one of you at random in the thing, no bias at all. It'll just be whoever she ends up kind of picking on the screen, and that's who will be getting one of these magnets. So are you ready, Jess? Make sure.
I'm ready.
Make sure you get in the chat right now and comment me, or something like that if you want these. Or you can say, boo, I don't want one way or the other.
All right, we happen to land on Dakota Smith, who says, love your work, Roy.
Awesome. So Dakota Smith, congratulations. You are a winner of this nice little fridge magnet. So that'll be the yellow one to Dakota Smith there. Now we're going to give away this orange one as well. Jessica's going to do the same thing. Just a random person.
Drum roll. And Curtis Lee.
Curtis Lee, congratulations. You have won a Christ Center Ironworks fridge magnet there. I hope you enjoy it. And you don't have to just put it on your fridge. You can put it anywhere you like. You can put it on your tools. You can put it on your vise. You can put it on your anvil. You can put it on your heart if it's made of metal. Anyways, so that'll be an orange magnet to him. And you know what? While we're here, why don't we give away one more?
Okay.
All right, we're over here. We might as well give away one more. The next one is going to be this red color magnet. Very cool, very spooky. It might not be showing up because it's, glossy. This is again, we enameled these, so this is a torch-fired enameling, so it should be pretty robust, with a neodymium magnet on the back on a piece of copper. So, all right, Jess, go ahead and pull somebody at random and see what we got.
All right, we got the Wanderer.
The Wanderer. Whoever you are, that sounds mysterious. Spooky. Well, you get the spooky one, the red one. Congratulations. We can go back to the main cam. Congratulations to all those who have won the fridge magnets. There's 2 left. We're still going to give away a few more here. But one thing I'd like to say is you need to take and contact us with your contact info. That's your shipping address, that sort of thing, screen name, yada, yada. You have to contact us at our Gmail account. That is linked up in the description down below. So again, email us your contact info so we can end up sending these out to you. And that's what I know about that. I'm going to get this piece back in here nice and hot. And I do want to say thank you to everybody who's in the stream, and hopefully we are providing a good quality and highly instructional stream this evening. This is a bit more of an advanced technique process. It is a bit more on the advanced side of things, but it's fun to give it a go anyhow. If you give it a try at your home forge, you just might find you really like this sort of thing. So So thank you all for being here. Thank you to all the Super Chat donators, both last stream and this stream. And thank you all who have shared this stream around as well. We do appreciate each and every last one of you. I can't say that enough. All right, we're good and hot. Going over here. Let's try to take and get this to work, eh? Again, you have to work to both sides and develop that ridge line. Now you can see the handiness of this hammer because I can change directions of this peen. But with this curvature here, I can work that as well. So you can work with a regular straight cross peen, but you might end up leaving some mauling marks of the hammer, and that might not be as well. And if you get a few hammer blows right on top, it's not the end of the world. The underside will probably never be seen, and you can always come back through and planish those out later. But there we go, we're starting to get that going. One more heat on that, and I'll move on to this one as well. The important point is to take this in stages. So you want to take and just keep this going in stages as you go along. If it starts getting crooked, go ahead and straighten it out and bring this up in stages. Broader at first, and then narrower and narrower, sharpening up your lines until you get as thin of a ridge line as you would like.
All right, back to the questions I had written down. The Pickled Hammer Forge says, Roy, how do you go about approaching businesses and different outlets for live demos?
Well, that's an interesting one. So Jessica has done most of that. I am really bad for that because I'm kind of like, I'm not good enough, or oh, I don't want to, do that sort of thing. I don't want to seem needy or this or that. So I've always been kind of on that bit of that persuasion where Jessica's been like, no, I'm going to submit a resume, and she submits photographs and color photographs of my work and does those sort of things. So Jessica's a much better person to ask on that question than me. So I'll turn it to her.
All right. One thing I've done in the past is I actually had a letter written up, and I kind of outlined, I guess, Roy's services, you would say. And I can do a live demo. It'll help bring attention to your event, and sometimes people would take them up on that and say, okay, sure, we'll let you come to the event for free. Other times they say, no, we're not really interested. If you want to come, you still need to pay the booth fee or whatever. But as far as just even going to a event, even if you're just going to pay the booth fee, if you get with them in advance and just say, I would like to demonstrate, I do blacksmithing, I have this kind of setup, they are more than happy to accommodate you and help you get a space where you'll be able to bring your tools in and out more easily than some of the other booth spaces. So yeah, basically just good communication and kind of have an outline, or like I said, a written letter, maybe some photographs that you can show them of your setup, and that helps them understand where you're coming from.
I agree, 110%. Let's have a couple quick more questions, Jess. Start firing them off, maybe 2 or 3 at a time, and I'll try to answer as many as I can in bulk backload.
Okay, I'll give you 2. Palwin says he put in the video request for a video about metal and the wood grain, or grain. And then the other one was actually a question from the Wonder. He wanted to know tips on hammer technique to help prevent injury.
Okay, 2 great ones. Video request on about metal and grain structure, stuff like that. I am not a metallurgist, and I am probably the worst person for to speak with authority on it. One person I'd like to recommend you to is Kevin Keshin or Cashin, I believe is his name. You can Google him online. It's Kevin Cashin, kind of how it sounds, right? That's, you know, I think it's spelt with a K is the Cashin portion. I would recommend him for that. He's a knife maker and he's really great at answering questions and anything that people have about grain growth. And he is an ABS master smith. So I would take recommend him for that. And he's done metallurgy. He's got a degree in metallurgy. So again, I can refer to that. Me personally, I don't care that much about grain, other than what I can observably see. If I can see some grain growth, I'm like, I might have got that too hot, or maybe I didn't normalize that enough, or yada yada. You know, kind of just more on the basic side of things. For me, it doesn't really translate out unless there's a problem, and then I have people to refer back to for higher knowledge than myself. When it comes to hammer techniques, things like that, swing a lighter hammer, especially when you're getting started in it. You know, you got to build up your muscles. The other thing is you want to take and have mass under the hammer blows, so this way it's doing a little bit of give back to you. You're not wasting all your energy trying to lift and tug a hammer back up, and that's one of the biggest problems that you're going to have. Keep a loose grip on the handle. You don't have to death grip it to where all your veins and muscles are showing in your arm. That's a no-go. You don't want to do that. And then you want to have an upright posture. You don't want to be slumped over and shoulders forward like this to hammer. And then maybe my last real quick one is I see a lot of guys, and this happens the larger the hammer you go with, you start bringing this elbow out, and that's going to tear up your rotator cuff at some point in time. These ligaments, this muscle right here that keeps your shoulder where it ought to be, it's not meant to do this back and forth, chicken winging. So keep your elbow tucked in and work it from this direction, just like that. So hopefully that'll help you out there. That's my suggestion, is to prevent injury. And then one last one. I'm gonna give you one last one. This is a freebie. Know your limits. If you are tired, if your muscles are tired, if you're sore, know your limits. Stop then. It's your body telling you, hey, jackwagon, knock it off, right? That's what it's telling you. Your body's saying, hey, if you keep using me like this, I'm gonna break, right? I mean, it's your body's signals telling you like, hey, let's stop now. And you need to listen to that. That's very important. It's really easy to get sucked up in the process and think, I just got to get this done. I've only got 2 hours left in the day to. So what? You don't want to rip some tendons or have some other sort of issues further on where now you can't smith for 8 months because you're busy recovering from something that would have been easily avoidable with some rest. So don't overdo it. Know your limits. All right, I'm gonna brush this off because it's been sitting there for a while in the forge. I don't want all that big heavy scale on it there. And we're going over to the vise. Hopefully you're there.
Yep.
All right. If you notice, I'm trying to curve ever so slightly to give my vein. I'm trying to curve ever so slightly to give that vein a more of a flowing appearance to flow into the piece. You're gonna see how it's folding up, it's tacoing, but that's okay. But you can see how we've got that nice curve established there. We'll go ahead and do one on this side here. Give me more questions, Jess.
All right, I have two from Champ Ironworks. The first one, he wants to see a close-up of your hammer faces that you're using. And then the second comment he made is asking when we will be arriving at Quad State.
Okay, so hammer face, let's do that one first. I don't know, I can't really get you that much closer, so I'm doing the curvature's the same on each hammer face, like as you see it here. And then it's curved just like a peen. So one side's a 1/4 inch peen, the other side's a 3/8 inch peen. And then they are at a tangent from one another. So I hope that worked good. If I touch the camera, it'll zoom down, so that's about as close as I can get you. I can try to maybe send you an email with a lot closer faces. Of course, this one's all nicely polished, and because this one's been working hot steel, it's kind of turned a bit more matte finish. But that's what I'm using to get in there, because those curvatures are allowing me to have the reach to be able to work into the curves at the different angles and not leave a bunch of hammer chop marks. So there we have it. And when we'll be at Quad State, we will be coming into Quad State Thursday.
All right, thank you everybody for your comments on the magnets we made. Yeah, they are super shiny. They're enameled, so they have melted glass on them. And there's a multiple process in there where it gets heated multiple times and different layers of enamel applied. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Also, I was gonna show you guys here. I have one of these keychains that I've been making, and we announced they came out on the last live stream. I actually just took one and put it on a chain too, so I've been wearing it as a necklace. So that's been fun also. Let's see. Josh Smith, Overall Forge, says, hey Jess and Yamez, Becky just informed me that the t-shirts we ordered from Teespring was canceled. If you can, follow up with us with a little more details, and if anybody else has had that happen, let us know in the comments below so we can try to step in, maybe, I don't know. Teespring is kind of their own independent company, but you know, just keep us in the loop on how that's going.
Yeah, we don't have any control over Teespring themselves. We create designs the way Teespring works. We create the designs, we put it up there, and then they handle all the logistics. The only thing that we can control is like maybe deleting a certain product, or adding some new product to that online little Teespring store. But that's the only thing we have control of. If you're having something wrong with the shipment thing, we actually ordered a shirt ourselves from Teespring, and they ended up sending us a small or something, and I needed a 2XL. So they said, sure, no problem, we'll just get you a 2XL and you keep the shirt. So they gave we ordered the right thing, they gave us the wrong thing, and then they made it right by us. But yeah, we didn't get a say per se in what they were doing. So this is good and hot, Jess. Let's go back over, please, to the anvil. And we are almost ready to start. I've got to finish working this portion down here. Get that curvature in there where I want it. Good. So that's really progressing nicely now. So now you can see there's definitely some bends and stuff.
Oh no!
My wooden wedge! It didn't work. Oh no! All right, we'll put that back in, get some heat on here, and I'll put my little hammer back together. Whoopsie. Guy, give me a question.
Yeah, while you do that, I'll address a few comments. Yeah, I was just getting to the part where people were saying, like, that's a real nice hammer. TS says that's a nice hammer. Jim Bob the Impaler says very polished faces. Yeah, that hammer and the hammer he made for me, they both turned out super nice. And also Roy posted a little video of it over on Instagram, so anybody who's on Instagram can check it out there. We do some behind the scenes post over there, so just a couple times a week try to do that. Mike G, Jessica, our baby girl is laughing hearing Roy hammer LOL. Yeah, she sounds like she might be a future blacksmith in the making there. That's cute. Let's see, Yamez says, oh, I wish y'all could roll in and hang out early, LOL. Yeah, it seems like always right around Quad State we have so many events going on and we get pretty busy. So yeah, we're not able to make it super early that week or anything, but over the next couple, it's like something, we have an event going on every single week over the next couple of weeks.
Good to go. All right. I had to set that one aside. I lost a wooden wedge out of it. Apparently I didn't have it secured in there good enough. It is a really tiny wooden wedge too, so that was bound to happen, I guess. My mistake. Gotta love when things like that happen. So I'm gonna switch up to a tried and true. This is a little wrought iron cross peen hammer that I'm using. The only problem with it is it's made for lock work, so it's got a little sharper peens on it, which I don't like as much for this work, so I'm gonna have to be a lot more careful with my hammer blows to not leave a bunch of choppiness in this piece. But we'll just go with it and we'll see how this comes along here. Get a brushing here. We'll go over to the vice chest. So the first thing we need to do is we need to straighten this up. The way we do that is by pushing and pulling the center ridge. You gotta straighten it up because it's starting to get kind of annoying to work on. So now I'm pushing and pulling that center ridge. Now we got it back straightened up. Now I'll get a wooden mallet and I'll iron this flat just a little bit, just so this way we don't have this rippling effect until we are ready to have that rippling effect. But we're ready to go on to these last veins here.
All right, I believe I have a question for you from Panorel J. Says, been blacksmithing for 3 months. Any pointers for someone starting on their own?
Starting on their own. Well, first of all, you're not on your own. You're watching YouTube. And so therefore, you have about 1,000 times or maybe 200,000 times more information than when I first got started. So you are not alone. One big advice, you just getting started, go find a local club to take and be part of. There's blacksmith clubs nationwide. You might have to do a bit of driving to get there or ask your parents to get you there if you're young. And it's worth its weight in gold to go to meetings, club meetings, getting in touch with other blacksmiths in your local area. Show promise, and maybe even some of these guys guys or gals might take you under their wing and show you the ropes, and so therefore you're not alone. And again, that would be my advice to you just getting started in this, is as fast as possible get education in the forge and the blacksmithing. That'll help set you up to doing stuff in your own shop at home. Next question.
Right. A few people commented that the magnets would also just be really cool as coins. So yeah, that's an idea.
Yeah.
Let's see. David Lewis, Broken Anvil Forge. I wonder if you could glass enamel one of those leaves. Yes. Anything that's even items that are three-dimensional can be enameled, and steel can be enameled too. I haven't played with that much yet, but when I do, I'll probably do a video around it so you guys can kind of see the results that I get from that. And Mystic Mac, my comment got away. Mystic Mac 413 says, Roy, could you make me a riveting hammer for copper and brass rivets for leather work?
I didn't get any of that. You didn't talk loud enough.
Okay. Mystic Mac 413 says, Roy, could you make me a riveting hammer for copper and brass rivets for leather work?
Can I make?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to get in touch with us over at our website, we could discuss the details and what size and thing like that you're looking for.
Yeah, there's a possibility. Sorry, I'm trying to see if Jessica hit her mute or unmute button so we're not getting this crazy back talking thing. Yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, you can. I will let you know up front, the hammers that I make, like Jessica's hammer, I can take a show of that. I've been asked a couple times about what I would charge for a hammer like that, and it's pretty absorbent. So if you're just getting into it, or if you're not a collector of hammers, my pricing's probably not going to work out for you. And I just put that as a caveat, not to, I don't think myself high. It's just the amount of time I put into them in finish work, in my tooling and my setup. Since I'm not set up to bust out 50 hammers in a day, it costs a lot more than what somebody who does it for a living, making hammers or any sort of tooling like that has all their power hammers or presses or whatever set up for that. So there's a lot more hand skill involved in it, and I don't make ugly hammers, I make pretty hammers. That's what I do. So just to give you a little bit of an idea on that, but you can contact me. I don't want to discourage anybody from contacting me. I just want to put that FYI out there because we did have one person at one time about lose their lunch when they heard the price that it would be for a hammer. They were just thinking like $50 for something on the level of engraved and chasing work and things like that, a really ornate hammer. And I just can't do it for that. So, so just FYI on that. And this is good and hot. We're going to go ahead and run 2 more veins here. And then I'm going to show you guys Jessica's hammer. And we're going to give away a few other things. So after I get this hot and put this away again. So hopefully that will perk everybody's ears up. And you haven't all fell asleep yet. All right. First, I'm going to brush it here at the anvil to just get, I'm going to call that talking scale, to get all my talking scale off there. And then use what's left of my heat here to start putting in these veins. All right, next question, Jess.
I'm sorry, let me try that again. Mike G asked if we sell stickers. Not yet, but we hope to announce that on the next live stream and have those available. And Champ Ironworks asked if we have a local blacksmithing Michigan group yet.
So we don't have a local group just yet that we are going to currently. Because we just visited one at the Black Iron Days. It was the Michigan Artist Blacksmith Association was up there, and we were going over there here recently up at Black Iron Days, and that was a fun little event that we got to go to and meet some of the different people from up here. And I forget the name of the other place. Hopefully we're back at main cam here. I forget the name of the other place, but they're just starting up, and they're kind of like, they're all above the 43 or 43rd parallel, I guess is what they call it. So they're up here in the northern portion of Michigan, the tip of the mitt, or those sort of things. And they're starting up a new club up here, so I hope to attend one of their monthly meetings. That'll be coming up here soon, about mid-September. It is? Yeah. Yep, so. Anyways, let's give away a few things, eh? So let's go back over to the vise here. And I'll show Jessica's hammer off a little bit. So that's how that came out. We forged that in the last live stream that we were doing, didn't we, honey?
Yep.
So I forged that, and that's how this came out. The engraving's really rough on this one. I wasn't really happy with it, but I needed to get it done because I had a whole lot of other things I had to get done in preparation for Quad State and Good of the Land Fest this year that's in October, the month afterwards. So I wasn't originally going to do any engraving, so there's that. Jessica loves it anyhow. She likes the hammer, and so it should do her really, really well. Her stuff, but yeah, so that's what it is. It's on a hickory. It's on a polished hickory handle, and it came out to exactly 1 pound. So worked out pretty good. So there's that. Let's go ahead and give away 2 other fridge magnets, Jess. Are we ready? Okay.
All right, which one are you going to show us first?
We are going to do another orange one. This one got a little cut crooked, but hey, it's still a magnet and it'll still sit on your fridge or the bottom of a toolbox or kills your anvil ring or who knows what you use it for. This one is orange.
All right, it landed on Timothy O'Clair, and his comment was, Roy, what would you say is the biggest must for a beginner? For example, spend money on fancy tools or start with cheap.
All right, Timothy O'Clair, congratulations. And I think the comment was
Whether to go with fancy or cheap tools.
Rather to go with fancy or cheap tools. If you're just getting started, go with cheap tools because you don't know if you're going to ruin them. If you've been at it a while and you know what you want, then invest into expensive tools if that's what you want to do. If you don't, what ends up happening is, so you're going to find that you evolve and what your work that you want to undertake evolves over time. So if you put, say you buy a $12,000 rounding hammer from somebody, and then you decide you don't even like rounding hammers. You're always finding yourself using a $20 Harbor Freight, cross-peen hammer. You wasted that money on that rounding hammer. Vice versa, you can insert whichever hammer is not your favorite in there. But that's kind of one of those things to watch out for. So if you're just getting into it, I would suggest the cheaper tools until you realize the type of tools that should have quality associated with them, because you're going to find the most value out of that. So now this one here, this was supposed to be like a white one, but it kind of came out looking a little bit blue here, another fridge magnet. And Jessica's going to go ahead and draw a random name. Hopefully, when she gets to them.
All right. This time, I was looking at my list. It's another Curtis. Curtis at Noble Pursuit Ironworks says the same hammering for copper. So sorry, I don't know if I missed the first part of the comment there.
Curtis, congratulations. You're winning the white fridge magnet.
Yeah.
Thank you for playing along. All right, now I'm going to give away something else kind of special while we're here, while we're doing a few things. Take a nice little break here. Little siesta. Don't worry, the metal's not burning up. I got it sitting off the side of the fire. But I went ahead and made a video on just making some nails. And so I made up a whole bunch of different nails. These are all random. Some of them are 5 clout, some of them are 4, some of them are 3 clout nail heads. Take your pick, but I got some bundles of 3 here to take and give away. So I'm going to take and do that now. So we're going to give away the first bundle.
Okay. And it went to Ben Toombs.
Ben Toombs. Don't put all these nails in one place. Congratulations, Ben Toombs. I hope you enjoy these, brother. I hope you enjoy. Thank you for being a part of the channel. And now we're going to go ahead and give away another bundle of 3. Jessica's going to scroll at random.
All right, Box Run Forge, and his comment was, me.
It's you, Box Run Forge. Congratulations. You've got 3 nails. You can nail them in wherever you like. Hang up your stuff. Hopefully you enjoy them. So we've got about 3 other things we're going to give away in this stream just yet. Couple nails and one little surprise gift. So hopefully that'll work for you. Let's get this back hot, Jess, and take some more comments. So this way we can go ahead and go on to this last final part. We might not get through this whole piece here by 7 p.m., which I don't know what time we're at right now, but 6:30. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and roughly finish this last vein on this lobe, the back lobe, but then I'm going to start showing you how to take and add the dimension by adding we'll change up stakes and we'll go to the actual lobes themselves to give this leaf a lot of expression here. So we're going to go to the last vein, we're going to work it first, and then go on. Get on with it. Fast, 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 huh? Fast!
All right, Graham Pepper, thank you for the $2 super chat, and hello to you. It's good to have you here this evening.
Graham, good to see you, brother. Thank you for being here, and thank you, sir, for the support with the $2 super chat. We do greatly appreciate you. God bless you, sir.
And the Aimless Adventure, $5 super chat, and says, what is today but yesterday's tomorrow? Very philosophical.
Amen. Thank you, Aimless Adventure, for the $5 super chat. Yep, God bless you, brother. Thank you.
And Josh Smith asks, what weight and style of hammer is your most commonly used in the shop?
1 3/4 pounds. That's what this one is. It's what I use all the time, this hammer right here. In fact, this is not a buffed handle, it's just I've used it so much that it's created a sheen to it. So I use that hammer all the time. That's my main forging hammer for just about 90% of everything I do. Not quite 90, but a good bit.
Yama says, I finally have a question. Would you guys travel to teach a class as if it was at my guild, or I would host you to teach a class?
Yep, we'll travel to teach classes all over. In fact, I will be a conference demonstrator at the Missouri, is it BAM? Is it Blacksmith Association of Missouri? Yep, at BAM this year, at the BAM conference. I will be a conference demonstrator, so I do that, and I will be traveling back and forth to Ohio because I've got some teaching gigs down there. You can check out where I'm at and where I'll be by our events page, our calendar events page over at blacksmithpdfs.com. So Jessica, go ahead and go to the anvil cam there. I'm going to try to work this down as fast as humanly possible. Bring me more questions.
All right. Oh, I also wanted to remind you all that if you look down in the description of this video, you will see that I have posted the link to our next live stream, and that way you can go ahead and set a reminder for yourself, and that just helps you keep on track on when the date and the time will be.
There we go, working that vein down. Go back to the main cam. I'm going to straighten this up with a wooden mallet. All right, all straightened back out. And now I'll take one last heat on that rear vein and we'll get onto the lobes. Yes, you can. You can make it. You can make just about anything out of nails. Google nail art. There's a lot of stuff out there that people do out of horseshoe nails to roofing nails to you name it. It's pretty in depth. Continue, Jess.
All right, I'm just browsing through the comments here, trying to get caught up. I get stopped sometimes. I'm like, I'm gonna wait. I'm waiting for a good opening to ask this one. Champ Ironworks says that shop is so big you sound like a stadium before you switch the mics.
Yeah, it's a pretty big thing. I could be wearing this up a little closer too on the mic, but yeah, 32 feet to the peak, 40 feet wide, and 50 feet long. So yeah, it's a beast. I love it. I love it. Nothing better than this shop. So let's go back over to the vice cam, Jess. Anvil cam, whatever you want to call it. And field me more questions.
All right, Yama says, cool, nothing set in stone, just wondering for possible plans. Follow-up question, y'all don't mind camping, right? Ha ha ha. As long as it's not stormy.
Yeah, at the Marriott. Or what's a nice hotel? The Hilton? I don't even know if that's considered a nice hotel anymore. All right, back to the main cam.
Mike Need says, just want to say thank you both very much. I have learned a lot here tonight. Great to have truly honest answers and great insights.
Very welcome. I'm glad you learned quite a bit. I'm always learning myself, and thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your Friday evening. Thank you everyone for doing that to come join Jessica and I here. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this stream. Hopefully it's been informative enough and exciting enough and cool enough and all the other enoughs out there for everyone. So let's go back to the vice cam, Jessica, and we're going to change up stakes here. All right, we're going to change out from this veining stake and we're going to go to a ball stake instead. If you guys need to know how to make these, I've done a whole tutorial on these online here, and it's under my recent videos, so be sure to check those out. We're going to start with a smaller ball stake because we're going to be working on the smaller lobes of the leaf first. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this out nice and hot and start working those with the flat of the hammer. We're going to start on the little small lobe here. And this I'm actually going to hammer on the stake because I want to take and create a little bit of a concavity on the other side. Now you'll start seeing we're working from the underside or the bottom side of this leaf. And we'll just keep rolling it and getting this planish down. And the reason why I'm hammering here is I need this to spread to give us the information we're looking for. Come to the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing. We'll probably get it on the next heat. But this is good enough. I can do it on this heat as well. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to thin that out. We're trying to thin those edges out while giving it cupping. So hopefully you guys can see the expression now that that's getting. Hopefully that's showing up well on camera. Next heat, we'll come out and we'll do this one.
All right, Spencer Coots just rejoined us and was asking about, or maybe just joined us for the first time, I'm not sure. He was asking about the winners so far, so I'll give you a recap on that. The Guillotine tool went to Matt Brumbaugh. He was the main winner. Some nails have gone to Ben Toombs and also Fox Run Forge. Several of our magnets have gone to The Wanderer, Curtis Lee, Timothy O'Clair, Dakota Smith, Curtis at Noble Ironworks, and also a flower keychain holder to Ulf Peterson. So that is our recap.
Yep. That's our recap there. Hopefully Jessica got the button finally. So sorry you all if you had to hear double echoing there for a minute, so, or any feedback. We apologize. Anyways, yeah, so good to have you, by the way, Spencer Coots. I ain't seen you in a little bit in the stream. Good to have you here. So we're gonna go back over to the Vice real quick, Jessica, and then you can go ahead and field me some more questions. Go here.
Right. Chris Hyman asked, I'm sure this has been answered already, but on youth recording, what is the best overall song to own if you could only have one? The best overall song if you could only have one.
If you can only have one, I would go with Wolfjaw. But I wouldn't want to just have one, so that's not a good question when it comes to that. Tongs, you want to be able to make up a ton of tongs. Wolfjaw, you'd be able to make a bunch of your own tongs to start with. But abiding that, probably I would actually... Now that I think about it, I would actually probably recommend flat jaw tongs, because then you can make them into whatever shape you want for your first project, which should be making more tongs. So anyways, hopefully you guys can see that flare and that expression starting. We won't get through all of this evening. I'm only going to work on this first portion here just because it's going to take a while to do the whole bit of this, but hopefully you guys can see that structure developing. It's going to be a lot of wash, rinse, repeat of this same process, and then it's kind of more of a feel. You know, you're wanting to feel out the curves that you're wanting to take and produce here on this steak. We'll go ahead and get that hot one more time.
All right, WTF Maker Studio says, if you Google nail art, you're just gonna get a lot of pretty fingernails. Yeah, I guess so. Tom Carlson asks, I need to look at the nail video. How small of a nail can you make?
You can make a nail as small as you have a nail header for, in general. What I have seen, probably the smallest nail I've seen are like tack nails. The problem comes in the length. So the smaller the nail is, usually the shorter the nail is. It just kind of works that way. Otherwise, you're just dealing with, you know, cutting a little taper on a rod if you're needing finishing nails. So I would say probably the smallest nail that you can make is maybe 3/8 of an inch in length and probably 1/16 in diameter or something like that. It's more like a tack that I have seen personally made. So it just depends on the size of nail header. Theoretically, you can make it just about as small as you like.
Mystic Mac 413 says, I like the different things Roy makes, not just hooks and knives.
Amen, brother. Amen. I like all the things I make too, other than knives and hooks. We're gonna go back to the vise.
Several of our commenters actually say they like the echo. It kind of gives that like a horror film kind of vibe.
Oh Lord. It's gotten that bad.
Black Collar Ironworks, glad to have you back.
Good to have you back, Black Collar Ironworks. Wherever you may have went to or come from. All I'm doing here is I'm trying to find that center ridge and pull out these flat. Get these flat. Right in here to here. Now that's all I'm trying to do with this hammer. And so we're just trying to work this right on this ball stake and pull out a little bit of the meat of that to give ourselves a little bit of thinning right in those areas and get a more evenness of design. So focused on getting this heat, doing something in this heat, I totally forgot that I was holding it clear up here. I'm like, why ain't I getting any power out of this bloom thing? Well, that would be why. Anyway, so I was just trying to get a little extra flare out of those corners there. Get another heat.
All right. Loof, welcome to the live stream.
Who? Loof, hello? Good to have you.
Paul Fontanini says, love that hammer. I think I need to make one of those for myself.
Yeah, depending on which one you're talking about, this little hammer here, yeah, they're a great little hammer. Pretty easy to make, a lot of fun. This one happens to be wrought iron with steel faces welded in, and I really enjoy it. And then, of course, Jessica's hammer, it's just gorgeous. I always make the most prettiest hammers for everybody else. And mine are just, you know, utilitarian. I could throw them in a toolbox or over on the floor or something. Now, back to the vise. Yes, you would be absolutely correct. Reason for that is since I've come up here to Michigan and I don't have a smokestack in my shop, I have taken to using purely coke, blacksmithing coke, instead of green coal. And so therefore, blacksmithing coke, you can't keep alight with just regular hand cranking. You can, but it will wear you out. Go back to the main cam, I'll straighten this all back out. That's gonna get me a little bit more appropriate. And then I'll have to go back to a center ridge fuller to give this tip here a little bit more dimension. But hopefully you guys can start seeing in the camera when we're over at the vise how well this is starting to form up.
Black Collar Ironworks says he just came back from dinner celebrating his parents' 30th anniversary. That's pretty quick dinner. If it was like Roy's family, it'd be like half a day. Well, probably my family too. Also, Brian Neely says, didn't Roy make a tomahawk once, long, long ago? Man, you've been back on our Facebook page a long way.
I'm not saying nothing. long time ago, yeah. Well, congratulations on 30th anniversary, 30-year anniversary? 38th. Congratulations and happy anniversary there. That's awesome.
Brian K says, could I see that wooden mallet again? I'm looking for ideas for my own.
Yeah, I'll show you the wooden mallet over here at the vise. Here, I had to switch up. We'll come back over here in just a second once I do my cleanup work here. Sorry, Jess.
That's all right. I was like jumping around a little bit. Trying to catch the Roy.
All right, we're getting that all straightened up. Hopefully you guys can see that, how that's starting to look. The final stage in this, which we won't get to this evening, but the final stage in this Acanthus leaf process, we're to be giving it the curl that you need for whatever the project is you're working on. So I'll show you a finished example of how this whole piece would look when it's completely finished. So hopefully you guys can see where we were going with this. Again, you're adding all those cups and slowly adding more and more detail as you hammer this piece up. But that's where we're going, and then that's the curvature that fits the scroll that I would be working on, or that I will be working on, because these are for a project. But anyways, you can see how that would fit the curl of a scroll. And I can even pull that up here in just a second. Stay at the vise, Jess. Please and thank you. I'm gonna bring that scroll up and then I'll show off my mallet. Yeah, so that fits the scroll. And then that gets forge welded on, riveted, then forge welded on, and that fits that type of scrolling there. Of course, you can make it more exaggerated, more drastic. You can come in from, say, this end and make more of a hanging leaf style scroll work like that. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. You know, and that's just kind of some options that you can do with that there. So with that being said, let me go ahead and throw all that down on the ground and show you the mallet. The mallet I was using is just a piece, I don't even remember what this is. I want to say this is like some mulberry. Not a good wood to make this out of. I would suggest hickory or ash to make your mallets out of, and just a simple old hickory hammer handle that broke. I drilled a hole in this, shoved this in, and then threw a wood screw through, a deck screw to hold it in. Just a quick down and dirty thing that I don't care if I burn this up. I've got nicer mallets that I don't want to burn up using this. So Good to go.
I have to read a couple of these because they're too good. I'm going to start with Aimless Adventures comment. He says, I'm going off topic, but the thing I like best about Roy and Justice's channel is the amount of support and care that goes back and forth between the two. Truly a match made in heaven. Anyone else agree? Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you.
Thank you.
Also, Coffee's Forge, $10 super chat. He says, I made it before you finished. Yeah. And then we had that followed up by $11 from Mr. Ben Toombs, who says, I can't let that Mr. Coffee guy outshine me, LOL. And this is for the future apology when we do meet.
I will try to remember that, Ben Toombs. Thank you for the $11 super chat. Yeah, you know, that coffee character, he likes to show people up. I wouldn't be hurt if he tries to show you up again, Ben. But, I mean, hey, who says love can't be bought? Anyways, thank you all so much. Thank you for all the kind comments. And God bless you. Thank you for supporting us. You guys will definitely be on that sponsor wall. We don't have sponsorships here on this channel. Who sponsors us is you guys out there, the viewers, you guys and gals that watch us and share our content on a regular basis. That's our sponsorships. You know, that keeps our nose clean and keeps the shoulder to the plow. And we do appreciate you all. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being so supportive, everybody. We really do appreciate each and every last one of you. I'm gonna straighten this up here at the main cam, Jess. You can give me some more information.
Corey Shire says, finally got you on the big screen TV. Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to let us know how you like the quality of that.
Heck yeah. No, I have not seen that. I have not seen that video. I'll have to go search on that and take a look at it. I'm going to switch to the ball stake, and I think I'm going to do like 2 more lobes here, and we will give away another item here before we put that back in. That'd be a good idea.
Coffee Sports says, no more LOL. Gotta pay for a hammer in. I will deal with you, Ben, when I see you. Smiley face.
That's all right, Mr. Coffee. I'm sure you'll take care of us after quad state sometime, or you'll feed us well during quad state. So won't hurt me none at all. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and give away 2 more bundles of nails here. Hopefully you guys will like them. We're going to give away 1 to one person, 1 to a next. Jessica, draw a random name, and let's see who gets this first bundle.
All right. I landed on Newt's Leather and Metalsmithy. Says later all. Hopefully I'm sorry, my button didn't press. Okay, Newt's Leather and Metalsmithy. It said later all. Hopefully you were here long enough to catch that. You are a winner.
Congratulations, Newt Leathersmithy. I hope you enjoy your nail bundle here. Get with us if you can. All right, we're going to go ahead and draw at random 1 more person here. Hopefully someone who's still in the stream.
All right, I landed on Sarah and Mike G, and a bunch of clappy hands was the comment.
Woohoo! Sarah and Mike G, thank you all for being so supportive of our streams all these years. Get with us with your contact info and shipping stuff so we can get you these. Thank you. I should give away the last thing. What do you think?
Probably. Go for last?
Yeah, let's give away the last thing. So the last thing that I'm giving away, hopefully you're on mute. Are you going on mute, or are we in the barrel? Okay, cool. Okay, so I've got another little keychain. So Jessica says this looks like an orchid. I was going to call it like a bean pod or a pea pod type. Again, another keychain hook with a custom nail. That's a square hole, by the way, so this way it doesn't spin around. and obviously a hand-forged nail. So that'll go in there like so. All you gotta do is find a wall or beam or post to hang it on. So we're gonna give that away now to some random subscriber in the comment section.
All right, we landed on Tom Carlson, and his comment was, how do you polish the ball punch? And thanks for the nail answer.
Awesome, Tom Carlson, congratulations, hope you enjoy this. How I polish the ball, I'm assuming you're saying the ball stake? This is just a 320 grit finish, so it's just sanding. I just use some sandpaper and buff it over real quick with that. I do have a buffer, however, that I can throw some brown buffing compound on and take it up to mirror finish, but they will end up tarnishing down to a more matte finish as you use them with heated material. If you're using it with soft stuff like copper or silver or something like that, it won't tarnish as much. But I use, again, doing it with hot material, it'll always end up scuffing up the surface and be pretty abrasive.
All right, and I just wanted to make sure and point this one out before it got too far down in the comments. Bob Smith with the $14.99 super chat and said, great to see your channel grow, Roy and Jess.
Thank you, Bob Smith, for the $14.99. You don't want to forget that 99 cents there. We certainly don't. Thank you, Bob Smith, for supporting our channel, and we are glad to take input on these presentations for everybody. God bless you all. Thank you so much for all those who have been supporting us on a regular basis, not just in these streams. We really do appreciate each and every last one of you. So I'm getting this hot, and we're going to be working the second set of lobes now. So I've moved to a much larger ball fuller, or ball stake, if you will. And so that way I'm not putting a bunch of little tiny pebbled dinks in it. Use a larger tool for a larger job. So that's kind of the theory on that. We'll go over to the Vice, Jess, and you can field me some more comments.
Right, Newt's Leather and Metalsmithy says, we'll shoot you my contact info via Messenger. Yeah, that'll work out fine. And like I mentioned for everybody else, the website's the best way to get it. That way we definitely read all of the contact forms we get there. Let's see here. Aimless Adventure says, I've been building my first forge for 2 years, LOL.
That's a long time. Must be worth it. All right, now you guys can hopefully start seeing them cups and those curvatures we're starting to get into this piece. If it starts bending up too much, you just hit to the off side of the stake as you go here, and it'll straighten back out that leaf a little bit. I wouldn't worry about it too much, because they're all going to curl up like that before they curl down. So it's okay if it runs up a little bit like that. You just want to focus on getting the work done while you have the chance.
Tom Carlson says, I see how the smaller curved pins would work great for the leaves.
Yeah, the smaller curved pins really work well for that. You can get in all them little nooks and crannies. Again, we had to switch to this because I lost the wooden wedge out of the other hammer, but that, so I just had to switch real quick. This is not ideal. It leaves a bunch of choppy marks. You want a nice arc to the peen profile in this direction as well as in this direction. You want it to be nice and radius so you're not leaving a bunch of chop marks. Ready to go back to main cam?
Right. Penaraj says, hoping to finish my first forge tomorrow.
Awesome. Congratulations. I hope it gives you many years of fun and excitement.
Mike Neat says, fantastic quality transmission here, guys, and I'm from Wales in the UK.
Awesome, good to have somebody from Wales here in the house. Thank you for being part of the stream. I hope it has been very informative or at least enjoyable for you all the way out there in the UK. Thanks for watching. Let's go back over to the vise, Jess, while we're talking here. Focusing on these lobes. We're trying to pull out those lobes ever so slightly and get some radius to them. At the same point, we're trying to take and get some more curvature in the leaf. This will take a whole planishing heat all in of itself. So don't be upset if you have to just, you know, if things are getting a little choppy on you, you always come back through and clean all this up with planishing heats later on. The important point is to start establishing your curvatures and then you come up with your cleaning heats later. And again, if it's starting to get crooked, you can always hammer on it while it's hot and just get this thing straightened back up, because it will. That metal has to be formed and moved somewhere. Just make sure you're doing it while it's still hot, or at least warm when you do that.
We have a $25 super chat from Rigid Ironworks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, from Rigid Ironworks. We appreciate you, brother. Good to have you in the stream. Thank you for the $25 super chat. Go back to the main cam.
And we have a question from Drayson's Forge. Could you make a leafing hammer from a large old chisel with success?
Yes, you can, as long as, again, it's a large chisel. You can do it. I started with like a fairly short chunk, like a 2.5 inch chunk, maybe 7/8 inch round diameter, and that's what I drew out that leafing hammer out, and it came out to about little over maybe 10 ounces is what that hammer came out to. I don't have the accurate weight on that. I'm just guessing as what it came out to, but it's about like a 10-ounce hammer. So if you start with something that's already long and narrow, you have to do less for the pins, but you do need to watch the eye that you don't get any suck down. So you may want to drill a hole through it and then, you know, just drift it ever so slightly with a hammer drift. So this way you don't get that kind of that suck down that happens on a lot of hammers, to where you'll have this waste at the eye. That'll be not only unattractive, but it won't be good long term for you for the structural capabilities of the hammer. So we're going to stay at the anvil cam, Jessica, at the main cam. Sorry, I've got to straighten this out a little bit with the mallet.
Mike G has a joke for you. He says, when you're done, you'll be tired that you can say, "Leave me alone, I'm bushed," since you're making a leaf. Haha, corny, I know.
Nothing like good bad dad jokes. Nothing like good bad dad jokes. Love it.
Brian K says, I don't have a vise that will take that kind of beating. Could I make a similar hardy tool?
Yes, you can. You can make similar hardy tools. The problem with hardy tools are that they're only one-sided. These, if you watch the video that I made on these, the great portion about this is that you can flip the tool over. So one end could be drilled down to, say, 1/4 inch radius ball fuller, and then the other side could be a 1/2 inch or 3/8 or whatever you need. And so you can get two tools on one, basically, two different size tools on one. That is very handy later on. You know, it's more expeditious or efficient. You don't have to have as many stake tools to go in the anvil. But yes, you definitely can do that by just go ahead and making you a hardy tool by just more drawing out and things like that. But yes, it's totally possible. More than one way to skin a cat. That's the analogy.
Paul Perrin says, what are you looking for or watching to determine when it's time to go back to the forge with the metal?
So what I'm looking for to determine when I go back to the forge, I'm not actually looking, I'm feeling. So the metal will start getting stiff, and when it's rigiding up, I'll feel it in my left hand or my tong hand. And that's how I know it's time to go back here. One thing that you could tell when it's time for your metal to go back in the fire, when you're doing this type of work, if it's dropped down below, an actual foreseeable forging temperature, the thing that you're looking for too is it'll start slipping around a lot. Like every time you hit it, it'll transfer that kinetic energy somewhere else, and it'll be slipping off the tool constantly versus grabbing. When I come out hot on it and I go put it on the stake anvil, you will see what happens. It almost grabs, it stays put, but as it cools down, it starts slipping a lot more off that surface. So that's something that I look for. We're going back to the anvil cam, Jess. Good to go. All right.
Rigid Ironworks says his name is Mike, and he also asked if you clear coat all of your bowls and dishes.
Have I created all my bowls and dishes?
If you clear coat them.
Yes, I clear coat them. And thank you, Mike. I know I should know your name. You've told me it a bunch of times. It's just in the moment. Sometimes I don't remember as well as I should, so I apologize for that. But I appreciate you nonetheless. Yeah, I clear coat anything that's copper, anything that's steel. See how it's starting to slip, folks? It's starting to slip as soon as you get it on top of something. It's wanting to just kind of bounce off. You can't pull out these lobes like I want to. Stuff like that. It's starting to want to slip. That's how you know it's hardening up past the point of where you need it to be. And you need to pay attention to that. So if you guys can see that. See how it's starting to really get those cups in there, hopefully. And you can start seeing those fullers. But that's basically the process. You're going to repeat that for the whole thing. Then you're going to go over a stake fuller, and you're going to just go ahead and clean up this ridge line and any of these, sharpen any of these lines as well. And then that will start creating this curvature that you're wanting. And then you might have to do a wood block to give it a little reverse curve out at the end if that's what you're wanting on the end there. But this is basically the process. I hope everybody's enjoyed it so far. I'm going to do this last little lobe here. And then I think we're out of time, aren't we?
Yeah,
We're way past 7, aren't we? Yeah? Okay, all right. How past 7 are we?
7:08.
All right. I'm going to do this last lobe, and then we're going to call it good at that. We're going to have a few more comments real quick.
You ready for another? Ready for now? Okay. Ben Tombs says, would a torch setup like Tim from Big Dog Forge be more efficient for this process?
Yes, it would. It would be more efficient for this process. Also, well, I'd say yes and no. It just kind of depends. It'd be more expensive for this process. Now, what I wouldn't have is I wouldn't have the forge here, and I wouldn't have my vise clear over there. I'd have my vise a lot closer to the forge, and I can run this forge for a lot cheaper than I can run a torch setup. But if you have a rosebud running right by, say that's not a possibility for you to move your vise close, then having a torch set right by your stake would be absolutely choice. Great question. Let's go over the vise.
The Wonder asks, is it worth using cheaper scrap metal like railroad spike and then carbon infuse it after you make something out of it?
Say that again.
Is it worth using cheap scrap metal like railroad spike and carbon infuse it after you make something out of it?
Harden it.
Carbon infuse.
Okay. In my opinion, no. that wouldn't be a very good thing to do at all. If you have, this is basically the deal that I come up with here. I'm going to stop hammering so this way I can answer it. You guys seen enough of that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'll just go ahead and answer your questions here for the next about 5-10 minutes or so, so we can do that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. That's kind of the finished product. You're going to keep working on that. I've got a lot of planishing work to do after I finish up my crossbeam there. But I want to go ahead and answer some questions in detail. We'll do that, put that away. Shut off that fire, that air, that blower. I'm going to cover it up just a bit though. Good to go. All right, to answer that question more in detail, my theory, my thought process on it is that we do not live 2,000 years ago. Our steel is easy and cheaply had and to come by. You can find high carbon steel if that's what you're needing. You can go down to your local tractor supply and pick up some hay rake tines that they've got on there. There's so many different soil engagement. Go talk to any farmer, and when they trade out like their different plow points and things like that, you can get those. Those are all high carbon steel. You can make tooling and all sorts of things out of them. Everything from, again, just go talk to a local farmer or something in your area, ask them, they'll have it. Sometimes you can go to muffler shops or car shops and they might give you springs. You might be able to find springs and things of that nature if you're trying to scrounge steel. But steel really, for pure linear foot, is not very expensive. As far as if you were to try to carburize something, you're talking 6 to 12 hours at heat that you have to keep this thing for it to be a railroad spike and it to only have maybe more of a surface level hardenability for the tool that you're trying to go for. So outside of a survival situation where you couldn't just steal somebody's car springs off their vehicle in that survival situation, and you absolutely needed a punch or a chisel that you need to make out of something like that, then I guess you could use a railroad spike for that purpose. But I don't want to be too negative or condescending when it comes to that, but I hear a lot of questions from beginners as well, a lot of other experienced specialists about trying to kind of skirt the cost of just going down and purchasing high carbon steel. It's really not that expensive. It only gets expensive if you burn it up and you throw it in a scrap pile. So if you're afraid that that's going to happen, go ahead and work on more of your mild steels and work on, certainly make things out of, mild steel, wrought iron. If you can find something of wrought iron, it's okay. But, your simple carbon stuff, make it out of the cheap stuff first, and then just get the process figured out, and then use your good steel to actually make the tool. That way, you're not wasting it, number one, and number two, you're not fighting a tool that was never going to hold up in the first place. You got hours into this piece, especially as a beginner, and then it just rolls over or it bends in half or whatever while you're in use. So that would be my suggestion on that for anybody that's out there. That is a great question. Thank you for asking it. It's a great question to ask, and it gives me a good talking point.
Ironworks says, Roy and Jess, thanks again for another amazing live feed. I'm off to a local high school football game. So long, everyone. God bless. Hope you have a great evening and enjoy the football game.
Yeah.
Also, Aimless Adventure says, you can see what you can make out of scrap by watching the Sprinkled Donut Forge channel. Mike Need says, I'm making a forge out of an old gas bottle. All safe, although it was a rocket stove in its last life.
Cool. Hopefully it will go well for you.
Drayson's Forge says, are you planning to make dies to speed up the process, Roy, assuming you have a bunch of them to do?
Eventually, I hope to take and make dies for the power hammer. I don't have my power hammer set up yet, as I don't have my floor in yet, my preferred floor in here. Eventually, I will be I will get the power hammer actually set up on a base, at least a temporary base, so I can use it and make it actually more usable to me. Right now it's unplugged and everything. It's just sitting just off the side of the camera here. But with this process, I really wanted to take and learn this process, the French steak repoussé, because it allows you to, again, be able to undertake a lot more forms than just leaf forms. So making dies like closed dies or open dies where you can just really go underneath a power hammer, which I've got some power hammer tooling with fullers and different shaped things that'll certainly be great when I get to that process. But that is very two-dimensional. You know, it's very just up and down, right? It can't hit at angles. It can't push stuff and heave material where you want it. It's very up and down in its nature. So where that comes into play is, so say if I wanted to take and make a, you know, like a full bust of somebody, that's like the shoulders up, right? Like just right here at the bottom of the, about at the bend of the elbow up. That would be super difficult to try to take and undertake under a power hammer, as where with French steak repoussé, I can come right there and I can sit there and I can work on all the features of the face and things like that, and I can raise a piece on raising steaks and then ornament those pieces on the different you know, repoussé steaks that are available to me. So this is a bit of a practice of a fairly slow technique. Now, my first leaf took about 2 hours for me to get the hang of it, of where I was going with it and kind of how the tooling. Then I made up a bunch of tooling because I didn't have any tooling. I just wanted to try this. I didn't have any tooling, so I said, hey, I need to make a bunch of tooling. So I spent another 5-6 hours making tooling for it. And that's going to slowly progress. Now that I've got the tools, it actually doesn't take that long. It takes longer for me to demonstrate this and explain it than it does actually when I'm just standing here now and working on these. So yeah, power hammers will only take you so far. Unfortunately, they're very two-dimensional, and this process is a bit different than that. It's a lot different for getting those shapes and those curves, especially once you get to, let me grab this over here. Oh, especially once you start getting into the point where you're starting to curve them around for scrolls and things like that. That's just something you're not going to be able to accomplish under dies in a power hammer or press, at least not once it's getting really super elaborate. So it pays to be able to know how to do it by hand first, and then if you can create power hammer tooling to make certain parts of this process easier, it's definitely worth a go. So that's my answer to that. Hopefully I didn't take too long to talk about that.
Tom Carlson had commented, I built my first forge out of soft fire bricks months ago and have burned it up. I need to rethink how I do it.
Well, it sounds like it done pretty good for you if it lasts months. I would go ahead and build it again kind of the same way. The only other thing you could do is use hard brick, but hard brick takes a long time to heat up. Soft brick has a great insulating quality, so it really heats up nicely and quickly when you're using like a gas forge and or if you're using coal. Now, if you're using coal, I would suggest hard brick or clay in the actual fire pot itself, where it's going to be in direct contact, just because that soft brick that you get at like Menards or Home Depot or whatever, it's not rated to what the coal or coke can get up to, and it'll literally melt.
Brian K says, any beginner skill building projects that you can share with me?
Beginner skill building projects. I answered that a little bit earlier in the stream, but I would say probably, you know, maybe make yourself some tong clips, bend some hooks, fire pokers, make your first fire tools for a coal forge, even if you don't have them. Make them for your local blacksmithing club. Make up a couple fire poker rakes and things of that nature. It will give you the chance to learn bending, tapering, upsetting, twisting, you know, those sort of things. Maybe even chisel work, depending on what you're doing, and even possibly forge welding, depending on how complex you're trying to make it. But as far as a beginner process, those are really good key things to study on. And you can't put a price on time at the anvil. even if you're making scrap metal there, ladies and gentlemen, even if you're making scrap metal, you cannot put a price on time in at the anvil. Be swinging a hammer and be making something, making noise, making scrap metal, just, you know, sweating it out, whatever you want to do to just get it out of your system, because it's your, at the end of the day, it's learning to see something with your eye, telling your hand to do whatever movement it needs to do to throw that hammer at the direction that you need that metal to move. And so you only learn that because it's a very tactile thing. You have to be able to visualize it as you're doing it and hammer on it and do it. You can play with clay if you want. That's only going to take you so far because it's not the same as you trying to actually get the material to move in a full hammer swing. So get at the anvil, draw out tapers, taper after taper. Get to the anvil, upset bars, one bar right after another, right after another, right after another. Let them drop to the floor, cut them off, drop them off the floor. Do a section of 10 and see how you've progressed across 10 of them, and then just continue on doing that. And that will give you time at the anvil, and once you understand your basic forging techniques, your basic hammer blows, you can create anything. And it won't be a matter of, oh, is this a beginner project that I'm capable of undertaking, or is that an advanced level project? You'll start seeing things as, oh, that's a taper, that's a twist, then that's a bend, and that was a rivet, and that was a forge weld, and that was so on and so forth, and you'll start diagnosing what you're looking at in the steps to take place. So that's my biggest advice for beginners there. You know, you need to spend time at the anvil making noise.
All right. Coffee's Forge says, just had a set of leaf springs from a 68 Firebird dropped off, almost as old as me. What to make?
Flowers. Make flowers. Don't say it. Don't say it, Mr. Coffee. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear what you're going to make out of it. Jessica, don't repeat it. I think I already know what he's going to make out of it. So, this tongue ring here. Woo. All right. Last couple questions, Jess.
All right. Panorage asks, anvil or railroad track for a beginner on a budget?
So cheap anvil versus railroad track. I'm just assuming you mean cheap anvil, because if you have the opportunity for an anvil and it's within your budget, get an anvil. If all you have is a railroad track lying around and that's all you can do right now, go ahead and start with that. A railroad track anvil will get you by for a little bit, and then as soon as you upgrade to an actual anvil, you'll be like, whoa, what was I missing? So again, use what you got if that's what you have. Blacksmithing, metalworking, basket weaving, underwater basket weaving, snorkeling, knitting, crocheting, doesn't matter what you get into, it's got a cost of entry. And metalworking is not a cheap cost of entry, no matter what you look at. Any way you slice it or dice it, you're going to be spending money one way or the other. If you're salvaging materials, you're using up cutting wheels to cut things apart, or torches, or however other means you're using to cut up a car. Just because you've been gifted a car to cut apart for forging endeavors doesn't mean you're actually saving yourself any actual money because you were given that car. You still have to take the leaf springs out. You still have to cut those leaf springs somehow. Again, there's logistics. There's further logistics in it. So whereas it might have been easier to just buy straight up bar stock and cut it at the bandsaw, boom, you're ready to go and get the work done, it might be a little easier. So if you're going to have to do railroad track or regular anvil, pick a regular anvil if you can. If it's all that's in your budget is railroad track, just go with the railroad track. It's fine.
Right. Mr. Coffee says, I sell between 50 and 100 S-hooks a month, pays for my hobby. Man, you're hustling some S-hooks, Mr. Coffee. Charming Hollow Forge says, Roy, at what point in one's path can one feel confident enough to start teaching beginner classes, in your opinion?
I would say when you feel that you have the amount great question, by the way, Hans. If you guys don't know him, you should check out his channel. Great channel, Hans over at Charming Hollow Forge. My suggestion for that, now some people might take a little bit different offense to this. My suggestion for that is, when do you have something to offer, and when can you competently describe the process in which you're teaching? That is the time that you can teach. The problem that a lot of people get into is they've learned something for a week and then they speak on it like they're an expert in that particular thing, and it ends up getting them to have a foot and mouth moment. So as long as you're not doing that, as long as you're letting somebody know that, hey, this might not be the right way to do it, this is what I know to this point in time, you're going to do just fine. I think everybody has something of value that they can teach and that they can share out there with other people. I have met complete rank beginners that have started doing certain techniques just out of randomness, just out of necessity. They didn't know any better, and turns out it was a pretty darn good way of doing it, just because it's just the way they thought about it. And for me, knowing the way I do it and set in my ways, I would have never taken that approach. But later on, you know what? Man, I'm in a situation where my approach isn't working out, and I'll remember something that I saw some beginner guy doing. I'm like, oh man, well, hey, that works out great. And so everybody has something to offer. It's just the way that you take and you spell out that knowledge for people. I'm the first one, I will tell you that I do not know everything there is to know in blacksmithing. I know that there's certain master smiths, but even those guys don't know everything there is to know in blacksmithing. They're very masterful at their particular stylization that they've decided to do in the craft. And that's a great place that I hope to be at some point in time myself. So I've always got something to learn from somebody. And again, so do I ever feel confident that I have enough to teach? I'll be 100% honest. I've taught classes, and I always get nerves before a class, because you never know when someone like Clay Spencer is going to walk through the door of your class to come learn a technique from you that you're teaching that he doesn't know. And that happens. That happens, surprisingly. I've seen, again, someone who I consider a top master smith, Tom Latney, take a class from Peter Ross. If you hear Tom Latney talk about Peter Ross, he talks about Peter Ross like Peter Ross walks on water, And I'm like, but wait a minute, Tom, you're the one who walks on water, And so I really look up to Tom Latney, but he looks up to somebody else, And here he is taking his class, And we all, those of us who know, Tom Latney is no fool when it comes to smithing. So, it's like, wow, his stuff is absolutely amazing. So again, I never know when someone's going to come into my class that has 15, 20, 30 years of experience on me. And it's happened. I've taught classes to guys that have been doing it as a hobby smith for 45 years. And they've met people that I've only heard about, and they've took classes from people. And they just do this for fun, but they still pull some sort of information and knowledge. So I don't think you'll ever be at a point where you'll be comfortable enough to say, hey, I'm a beginner, or hey, I've arrived. There is no really arriving, so to speak, in blacksmithing. There's only your journey and what you can teach from it. So hopefully that'll help you in some way. I've rambled on. That's a bit of a rant. It's not really a rant. It's just hopefully good sound wisdom for you. I know that there's a trend. I'm going to continue here for a second because it's something that bugs me. Because I scum around Facebook, and then I see people. Yeah, I call it scumming around Facebook. That's what I do. I see certain people that should know better bash on other people. So not careful enough with the way their constructive criticism should be, and it just comes out as criticism. Or they put somebody down because they say, "Hey, you don't know enough to be saying whatever," or "You're uneducated on this topic." And again, it comes from this sense of grandiosness, grandioso, or whatever they think they are. They think they're the top dog when it comes to smithing, and yet they don't have nearly the time in it that I do. and I don't have it nearly the amount of time that some other people that I look up to do, but yet they're in there kind of curtailing the next generation of smiths, or the guys that are just learning and taking a harsh approach to that education. And I think it's something that you got to watch out for, that you get so high and mighty that you think that you can come in and tell another guy like, oh no, you're stupid, or you don't know this, or whatever. You should open your ears first and your mouth second, and work with that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. That's rant over on that. But you know, keep it classy out there, gentlemen and ladies. Keep it classy out there, because you never know when the person you're talking to is somebody who's been forging since the day you were born, or before it was ever even a wet dream for you. So, you know, just keep that in mind.
All right. There's a, let me go ahead and answer it. I know some of you guys answered it in the comments already. D. Pickett Turnings, $2 super chat, and then had commented shortly after that, draw me, I need the guillotine tool. We drew that a little earlier in the stream, and that went to Matt Brumbaugh. And then we also gave away an additional 10 door prize type items, some nails and some magnets and things like that. So for those of you who like attend future streams, like we have some more door prize type items for those who are in attendance of the live stream. So make sure you catch us on the next live stream also.
I also would like to clarify there, you don't have to pay to get a part of the drawing. That's not the key there, because then that turns that into something else, which is not a giveaway. So a giveaway is, you know, there's nothing that you have to do to enter as far as monetarily, but the way that we have people do it usually is to take and go over to our website and pick up either a free downloadable plan, and we open it up to anybody who gets paid downloads as well. And we just put everybody's name in a great big hat. And that's just kind of how we do it, but there is no purchase necessary. So if you want to use the super chats to, you know, help what we do here and produce these streams and do the content that we do on a regular basis, that's a great avenue for super chats, but that doesn't get you entered to win. We do the door prizes here just because we love you guys out there, and we appreciate you letting us take up 2 hours of your time, or 2.5 hours of your time on a Friday evening to do these type streams, and we appreciate you. So that's why we like to just give back to the community that way. But there's no purchase necessary. There's no buying favor here or anything like that, because we just draw completely at random just for those who are in the stream when it comes to that.
Followed that up with, I don't expect anything. I enjoy the channel, and we're very glad that you're able to join us in this live stream. I don't believe I've seen you comment before in the live stream, so good to have you. Also, Metalman asked, I'm a blacksmith as a hobby, but it's your job, so what are your hobbies?
Great question. First, I'd like to say thank you for being part of the stream and asking the question of, you know, for the $2 super chat to take and get involved. Just really appreciate you being here. Thank you. So what do I do as a hobby? To be honest with you, my hobbies have changed a lot as I've grown older. I believe that, you know, you get older, and to become a man, you start putting away the things of a boy. And so I don't do games anymore. I don't really do a whole lot outside of just taking care of my wife and kids. I like to sit around campfires. I like to have a conversation with friends. You know, I'm a fuddy-duddy, I guess. You know, I'm a fuddy-duddy. I don't go to the beach. I don't I don't do anything. Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of interested in lock picking. I kind of like that. It's a neat thing. I haven't done any of it. I'm just watching it on YouTube, and I find it interesting. Probably the biggest thing that I do for a hobby, and it's actually still kind of blacksmithing related. I like messing around with locks. I like forging on locks and things like that. That's something I enjoy doing. That's kind of my hobby time, learning new things about the craft. My hobby time is when I go around for continuing education, and I get to take classes with, you know, Peter Ross, Tom Latney, Clay Spencer, Wayne Apgar, different people like that. I just enjoy going and relaxing, and I don't really get anything done, and I don't really care. I'm just there to enjoy the company of an instructor and just learning, just sitting in the good graces of a master blacksmith. That's what I enjoy doing. So yeah, I'm a bit of a fuddy-duddy when it comes to that.
Yama says, wait, you don't go to the beach like twice a month. It's not every day or anything.
Does this look like a beach body?
Todd Cross says, hey Roy, glad to hear that you moved to Michigan. Hoping to meet you at Quad State this year. You have been a big inspiration.
That would be great, Todd. Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there at Quad State. First, we'll be over at Mr. John Coffey's house. I believe we're going to go visit him on Thursday. We'll set up at Quad State, and then we're going to go visit him at his house. The Quad Squad's having a little get-together there. So I will be doing that on Thursday, but then the rest of the time I will be at Quad State, and you'll see me around. Yeah, if you see me, come say hi. Don't be shy. Walk right up and say, hey. Quiet over there. What are you doing?
Crickets! I was just reading through the comments. Tommy Wright says, into lockpicking, you aren't thinking about a second career as a burglar, are you? LOL.
If I was, I couldn't say on camera. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Oh. Mm-hmm. Well, I find it fascinating. I've been watching this one guy, I think it's Bonsai Bill, I think it is. Bosnian Bill. And anyways, been watching him and the lockpicking lawyer on YouTube, and it just blows my mind, like how quickly they can get into a lock. Like, they go, and that's doot, 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 doot. It's open. It's like, but that thing looked, and it's crazy. And to find out that a lot of the locks that I thought were pretty secure and tough, they do like reviews, like they'll take stuff right off Home Depot shelf or something, and they're like, oh look, you can just stick this in a clothespin and go, and it's open, and it's insane. It blows my mind. I get a kick out of it anyhow. I think it's funny.
There's some jokes about the little get together at Coffee's. Yeah, it'll be interesting what it morphs into this year after seeing it last year.
Okay, let me clarify by little. It's smaller than the actual Quad State event hosted by SOFA. SOFA, they put on a good event. Last year there was 1,200 smiths that showed up at the up in Troy, Ohio at the Miami County Fairgrounds, and it is the largest blacksmithing get-together in North America, period. End of story. And they've held that title for a great amount of years now. So that's the largest blacksmith get-together. Last year we were invited over to Mr. Coffey's house, and we had like a roast, and he had some other stuff going on there, and they had forging and things, and we didn't get over there. They had some stuff going on all week, and some people getting together and camping with one another over at his place. And that's more of just like a private group type event that's separate from Quad State. But I enjoyed going over there. I think we were there till 2 a.m. in the morning. I believe it was, Jess and I, forging. And so it was a fun time to had by all. Filled my belly full of food, and then still had to forge. Got basically meat drunk. There's a lot of meat that is served over there. So good event. This year he has, I believe all the classes spots are full, but he's doing something the whole week prior to Quad State, where he's got Daniel Moss coming in, teaching classes, doing hammer making, and some other stuff. I'm not all caught up on how they're faring on that, but I think they're all full right now at this point. So it's going to be a pretty neat event. I'm going to go over on Thursday, just check it out myself. Also, Tim at Big Dog Forge, he's going to be visiting there. He'll be at Quad State this year as well, which is awesome. So we'll have Daniel Moss there. Again, Tim, Big Dog Forge. Be very cool to see everybody and get to hang out.
Hans asked if you have any advice on a first entry for the gallery at Quad State, which this year the main category is floral.
My advice would be don't overthink it. That'd be my advice. I've overthought galleries kind of things before at Quad State and didn't win anything, you know, so because it's highly subjective, and the people who are reviewing it are not necessarily your peers. So what I mean by that is where you may do a really fantastic job doing riveted joints or something like that, and you did some sort of thing that had a lot of really nice rivets and you did a real nice job of fit up, they may have people judging it that can't tell a rivet joint from a weld. They're just judging it on the looks of the piece, what it says to them, right? Like what it looks like. So I wouldn't overthink it too much. Just bring something you're proud of. That would be my advice on that. Because I've gotten absorbed, haven't I, honey? I've got absorbed into a project, took it to Quad State. There wasn't any fanfare, you know, it could have just basically been on a back shelf somewhere and would have been just as loved by all. And again, maybe it wasn't all that good. In my mind, it was good, and I put a lot of effort into it. But again, just enjoy what you're doing and bring something that you're proud of. And if it gets anything, great, right? Like that's the other end. It's just exhibiting who you are or where you're at as a smith right now. That would be my advice. Hopefully that's helpful to you.
All right, it's 7:42.
We're going to cut it here. All right. Yeah, any other comments before we go? And hopefully you're not unmuted.
There I am. Not specifically for us. Most of the people are, the comments are just kind of back and forth a little bit about Quad State and where people are coming from and stuff. So, yep.
Okay, well with that, and without further ado, we're going to have to do this a lot better at trying to keep it to 7. This was a longer project, and there was a lot more going on this stream. So for all those that are tuning in on the replay, I'm sorry for how long the stream is. If you sat around for 2 hours, what's another 45 minutes amongst friends, right? But anyways, I really hope that you all got something from the stream. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys will like the gifts that Jess and I made, and that is a good way of giving back to you all in the community. And in the month of September, we're only planning one live stream right now. Jessica has that up on her schedule of events, I believe, and you have that linked in the description down below. She has that, so you can set your reminder now. We do plan on doing some other giveaway items there, but instead of having something where you guys have to go and get something from us over at our website, it is going to be for the people who are in the stream only. So I hope to, get a lot of people in the stream, and so share it around with your friends. And we have some certain things that we hope to get a certain amount of people in a stream and stuff like that, and give away certain prizes at, a certain amount of subscribers or people who are in the actual stream at that time, and just create a fun place to be on a Friday night. So that won't be next Friday. It'll be the following Friday after that, right? I think it is.
I believe so.
Yep, not next Friday. It'll be the following Friday after that. I believe it will be. Anyways, just check the date. Set your calendars for that, and that's going to be a fun time. Got a lot of great projects coming out. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the videos. I've been doing my best to work around here, get this shop put together, and also put out content. So that's been particularly tough and difficult to do forging related content, all forging like I would like to do with just tutorials. But hopefully you've been enjoying the content nonetheless, the little sneak peeks of the shop and whatnot. So that's it. God bless each and every last one of you. I hope you all have an absolute wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we will catch you all on the next one. God bless you all. Have a great weekend. Bye.